Live via satellite from Hollywood and New York, it's Rockline, the show where you interview the biggest stars in rock and roll. How you doing, everybody? I'm Jim Ladd. Rockline is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Remember, there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's. And by AT&T, the right choice. Tonight, we're extremely pleased to present a very special edition of Rockline with Mr. Paul McCartney. So get your questions ready and call us toll-free at 1-800-344-ROCK. That's 1-800-344-7625. One number, toll-free, from anywhere in the United States and Canada. If you grew up in the 1960s, you and your friends were probably devoted fans of this man and his music. If you were a parent of a teenager at the time, you probably thought that tonight's guest was the Antichrist, or at least one of the devil's disciples. It was a time of... You're welcome, Paul. It was a time of great contrasts and monumental changes. But for those who heard the message of the music, it was also a time of unbridled joy and youthful optimism. Whether you were dropping acid and listening to Sgt. Pepper, or you hated everything the Beatles stood for, this man and the music he's made over the last 3 decades has changed your life forever. He is the most honored and successful songwriter in the history of recorded music. But far more importantly, he is here today to carry on that promise of hope which John, Paul, George, and Ringo made to us during the Summer of Love, and that we still carry in our hearts today. It is my great honor to welcome Paul McCartney to Rockline. Paul, how are you?
Fine. After that introduction, Jim, well, even finer.
Well, thank you. Congratulations. I'm doing great, man. I'm out here in Los Angeles, we should explain to people, and you are in that sewer called, you are in the Big Apple, aren't you?
We're in New York, and we're having a fun time.
Yeah, good. Well, congratulations on the release of Off the Ground. This is your 20th album since leaving the Beatles.
Is it?
We've counted, boy. Paul. Yes, it is number 20.
Who's counting?
Somebody's counting, Paul.
Yeah.
This album, if I can start us here, seems to have a bit more of an edge to it, and certainly a little more grit as far as the subject matter. Yes?
Well, yeah, maybe. With the band, we've been together a little while now, and it's always nice when you kind of know each other as well as we do now, to get in the studio and just play, instead of kind of layering all the sound. So that's what we did this time. The songs, yeah, I think maybe because of that, are a little bit more rocking than we've been doing of late. And the subject matter, well, you can never really tell what you're going to write about, the way I do it. Anyway, I don't plan it. I just sit down and start twanging a guitar. And whatever I'm thinking about or whatever the mood is kind of comes out. So this time, yeah, there's a few there with a bit harder edge in the lyrics than normal.
There's also a great deal of optimism and hope and kind of looking toward the future as well, which I liked.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think, in these days when there's a lot of problems about, and you're reading about it in the newspapers, and you're hearing it on the radio, and you're seeing it on the TV and stuff. It's easy to get down. I think a lot of people, I meet a lot of people who say, oh, geez, man, where's it going and all this stuff. So that when you make a record, you realize you're going to affect a lot of people. And if you add to that down mood, well, there's no telling where it's going to go, And I've never been a great believer in that. As you say, with the Beatles, it was always kind of all you need is love. Or with John, it was like, give peace a chance, There was always some message of hope, really, So when I came to put this together, I didn't really think about it, to tell you the truth. It was only after we'd actually made the album I started to looking at it and thinking, is there any kind of theme, when we were putting them in order and stuff. And I started to find this theme of, yeah, come on, folks, it may be bad, but hey, we can lick it, and there's hope for the future. So I'm glad that's in there.
I'll tell you, so am I. Being a baby boomer and an old hippie, it's wonderful to listen to some of these songs and the message. Let's hear one now that has to do with this particular subject. It's called "Hope of Deliverance." It's the first single from the album Off the Ground. You're listening to Paul McCartney on Rockline.
I will always be hoping, hoping. You will always be holding, holding my heart in your hand. I will understand. I will understand. Someday, one day, you will understand. Always, always from now until then. When it will be right, I don't know what it will be like. I don't know. We live in hope of deliverance from the darkness that surrounds us. Hope of deliverance. Hope of deliverance. Hope of deliverance from the darkness that surrounds us. And I wouldn't mind knowing, knowing that you wouldn't mind going, going along with my plan. When it will be right, I don't know what it will be like. I don't know. We live in hope of deliverance from the darkness that surrounds us. Hope of deliverance. Hope of deliverance. Hope of deliverance from the darkness that surrounds us.
No, that is not a song about a fishing expedition in the southern part of the United States. It is actually about faith and hope for deliverance from getting off the ground, which is what we're doing here tonight. So if you would like to speak with Paul McCartney, be sure to pick up the phone and call us on our toll-free AT&T number, 1-800-344-ROCK. That's 1-800-344-7625. Rockline and AT&T, the right choice.
You're listening to an encore presentation of 94 WISP's Rockline. Although you'll hear phone numbers given out, please don't call because tonight's show has been previously recorded. 94 WISP.
Just a reminder that later on in the show, I'll give you details on how one of you and a guest can win an all-expense-paid trip to Hollywood to see a future Rockline show live, plus tickets to Universal Studios and 3 nights hotel accommodations, all courtesy of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Remember, there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's. Let's go right to the telephones now. And Rick is calling from Atlanta, Georgia, WKLS 96 Rock. Rick, you're on the air with Paul McCartney.
Hello, Paul.
Hey, Rick, how you doing, man?
All right, love the new stuff, man. The fans
Thank
on
you.
the run are ready to hit the road with you again. You still remember the big NOW signs from the 17 shows?
Yeah, man, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question is about the book project that we've heard you're working on with Barry Miles and Mark Lewison about like the studio side of your career. How's that developing? And is it going to cover information on all the great B-sides like Daytime, Nighttime Suffering and Girls' School and new stuff?
Okay, well, I think the your information's got a bit muddled there. I mean, it's not surprising really, because you just got a little snippet from here and snippet from there. The book with Barry Miles isn't really about studio. It's more about a period in the 60s when us guys came down from Liverpool, and it doesn't deal with our early life and our early career in Hamburg and that. It deals more with me specifically arriving in London and kind of living on my own in a bachelor pad in London. This is before I got married, Linda, don't worry. And, it was a great period for me, because I was kind of experiencing a lot of things that I hadn't seen in Liverpool. I was seeing, like, the theatre, I was seeing art exhibits, hearing crazy music by people like Stockhausen and all this kind of crazy stuff. So it was a very kind of artsy period for me. And Barry Miles was there for a lot of it. We did things like, opened like a bookshop and an art gallery, and he did a thing called International Times, which was quite I think myself, it's like a forerunner of Rolling Stone magazine. It was like the first kind of hippie newspaper. So we got into a lot of fun stuff then, and he asked me if it'd be okay to kind of write about that period. So we're dealing just about all the stories from that period. And in fact, I'm not really sure where you got the information about a studio book, although it's a pretty interesting idea. That isn't in the pipeline.
All right. Well, I want to thank Rick for calling in. And
thanks, Rick.
By the way, Paul, we enjoyed all of that stuff about the art and everything, but I think we really wanted to know about the bachelor pad. However, that's your choice.
You want to know about that?
Absolutely.
You got a few hours sometime?
Well, now, Paul.
I'll tell you when you're 21.
Okay, thank you very much. That will be in a couple of years. Let's go to Chris now at WRXL in Richmond, Virginia. Chris, you're on the air.
How you doing, Paul?
Hi, Chris. Great, man. How are you?
I'm fine, making it. What I wanted to know was that the Beatles actually paved the way for technology and modern recording, and I wanted to know how you felt with the advent of synthesizers and digital drum machines and everything, how you felt about the new technology now as opposed to when the Beatles had to experiment and create new sounds with, like, Sgt. Pepper's and the recording of the old stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I always kind of think it's great the way stuff moves on, and I'm always interested in, like, what the new thing is. Sometimes you can get a little wound up in the new thing just because it's new, and you go through it for a couple of years and you start thinking, which I think is kind of happening now a bit. People start thinking, well, synth's okay and stuff, but what about the real natural sound? And a lot of people are moving back to more natural sounds. But I think it's interesting, all that stuff. I've got time for that. Our keyboard player, Wicks, uses that kind of thing if it's called for. But the difference between now and a few years ago is that you don't just automatically use it. You use it if it's called for. The rest of the time, you might just also go to like a thing like an accordion, which is like an ancient kind of instrument. Or Linda sometimes plays a little Indian harmonium. We're a bit more into the acoustic stuff. But the funny thing was, with all that synthesizer stuff, when we were working in the early days with the Beatles, this thing called the Mellotron arrived in the studio. And we said, what's that, man? He said, well, what it is it's got like any instrument you want, it was the forerunner of the synth. And we were saying, God, this is never going to get past the musicians' union. People they're going to say it's stealing everybody's jobs and that. But in fact, they didn't even notice it. They were a bit unhip at the time. So things like the beginning of Strawberry Fields, those flutes, that little flute thing at the front of that was played on this Mellotron. And we just marveled at the technology then. I mean, now I've still got one in my studio in England, and now it's an antique. I mean, it should be in a museum, really, this thing, because it's like ancient. In fact, what they do, instead of using digital technology, which wasn't around at the time, they got a little tape, and you hit the keyboard, you hit the key, and it sort of plays for about 11 seconds, like a flute doing that note. For 11 seconds. Once 11 seconds is over, you're out of luck. And then you've got, that's it, But it was great. We messed around with then what was the new technology. And I still enjoy messing around with whatever's around now. But I think the secret is not to get totally overtaken, by the tidal wave of new technology. You got to pick and choose. I think, when you think about the way we made Sgt. Pepper, which is a pretty complex, layered record, but we made it on 4 tracks, which now seems impossible, People say, 4 tracks? How could you get like Day in the Life and an orchestra and all the band and all the vocals on it? Well, we did it just by reducing down. We did the 4 tracks and then reduced 3 of them to what was virtually like a single, like a mono mix, because we worked in mono then. Do you believe? I mean, this sounds like, Neanderthal, but it's true. And the only difference between now and then was that we just had to make the decisions earlier, which I actually don't think was a bad idea. You had to get the relationship of how the drum kit was going to sound. Instead of now, I mean, I'll use like 10 tracks on a drum kit, and you leave it open until you finally mix, and then you get the drums. I don't think it sounds that much better now than some of Ringo's playing, But the trick was we just had to decide earlier. We couldn't put it off like now you hear people say, don't worry, we'll get in the mix, man. Don't worry, we'll get in the mix. Then we couldn't wait till the mix. We just had to say, okay, drums are going to sound like that. Put that down. Bass is going to sound like that. So put them two together, So we stuffed the bass and in fact, I mean, George Martin just did a program on the making of Sgt. Pepper. And it was wild. He showed me some of the old 4 tracks off Pepper. And we've got, like me and John, we're on a guitar track doing the vocal. And John's like doing the backing vocals on my vocal track. It's not heard of these days. Nobody lets anyone on their vocal track anymore. But we just had to squeeze everything in, and if we had like half an inch, you say, okay, we'll get the backing vocals in there. We just squeezed it all in. And as I say, you just had to know what you wanted, which in fact, if you think about it, was quite a good thing. Well, you just,
one of the things that came out of that was the incredible feeling that came off of those records, because it wasn't overdone and overdone and overdone and done with synthesizers, which is what we're coming back to today. And let me just play the title cut from Off the Ground here, a record that was recorded in the way you were talking about with Sgt. Pepper. You're listening to Rockline.
I need love.
if they have this expression in England, but over here when a song really moves you, sometimes we talk about the goosebump factor, and I get that from that song. Thank you.
Cool.
Song about love and self-reliance. I like it. I like it.
Great. Cheers, thanks, man.
You spoke recently, and this really got to me, about the values of the 60s, and that it was a time when there was a lot more hope and optimism. And I want you to, if you would tell us in your own words, what you think are the most important and enduring values to come out of the 60s.
Well, you know, I mean, we'd all kind of lived through, like, the 50s, and kind of, you know, our parents had, like, been in the war, the World War II and stuff. And for us, you know, we were suddenly, like, freed. We, like, got away from Liverpool. We were in a band, and we were kind of able to sort of do anything we wanted, think anything we wanted. And instead, you might think, you know, everyone would go crazy and just go, hey, man, let's just party all the time. But in actual fact, you used to sit around a lot and kind of talk with your friends and stuff. You know, you might get a little high on this stuff, but it was not in a bad way. You know, you'd sit around and you wouldn't just get wild and trash the place. You'd actually sort of sit around talking about this and about that. What do you think about this? And I think a lot of us sort of kind of discovered each other and discovered that we had a lot in common, and that, you know, by talking about, at the time, for instance, things like the Vietnam War, you know, when we came to the States, people said, whatever you do, don't mention the Vietnam War, man. They don't want to know, you know, it's bad news. So, like, the first press conference we went to was, and about the Vietnam War, you know, we just thought, well, you know, we knew a lot of the kids who were going to that war. It was the kids as they were at the time. And we knew them personally, and we knew they didn't want to go. And, hell, they were the same age as us. And we thought, God, if we were being drafted off to something like that, it'd just be like, forget it, you know. So we had a lot of sympathy with these guys, and used to sit around and talk and stuff. So, you know, it may sound silly, but things like peace, you know, got talked about a lot. And you call it now ecology, but just the idea of, like, the planet having a decent future instead of just some sort of terrible deterioration into, like, you know, something, I don't know, something like sort of Blade Runner gone mad kind of thing. So you used to sit around and have a lot of interesting chats, you know, till early in the morning and stuff. And I think just what I'd call kind of just good values. I think a lot of people came out of that with that. Okay, a lot of people OD'd and went over the top, and there was a lot of party aspect, and not everyone could handle that. But I think the people who could ride it and not get too crazy did come out of it thinking, look, you know, if we're going to raise our kids, we're not going to just send them off to get killed or cannon fodder, and we're going to try and talk to them. See, the other thing was this generation gap, which now I feel very lucky with my own kids. I can actually talk about anything.
Yeah.
You know, literally, you know.
Right.
Whereas I couldn't talk to my dad. I remember saying to my dad, you know, well, what about, like, sex? Aren't you supposed to kind of tell us about the birds and the bees? He said, well, you know those dogs out in the street the other day?
Yeah.
I say, yeah. He said, well, you know, you're kidding. Get out of here. So you didn't exactly have kind of conversations that satisfied you. So I think, you know, a lot of just simple human values like, you know, talking to your kids, loving each other, having time for people, just wanting it to work out instead of just lusting after this greed, you know, which kind of came back in a big way, I think, like in the 80s.
Amen.
You know,
and isn't it interesting that with the people that want to paint the 60s as some sort of hedonistic, drug-taking, free sex, here you are talking about family values and making the planet better, and that is, you know, and that's the perception that has been lost during the 80s of what the 60s were about. We'll talk more about,
you're right.
yeah, and I hope that we'll talk more about this, plus Paul's tree-hugging aspects when Rockline continues. Make sure you join us this Monday night for a great double bill featuring Southern rockers Leonard Skinnard and Dan Baird. Skinnard's new album is called The Last Rebel, and Dan Baird's got perhaps the year's most aptly titled LP, Love Songs for the Hearing Impaired. That's Leonard Skinnard and Dan Baird next Monday night on Rockline. Let's go directly to the telephones. We have a lady by the name of Tony. She's calling from Costa Mesa over 97.1 KLSX. Hello, Tony.
Hello. How you doing?
Hi, Tone.
Hi, Paul.
Okay. Yeah, how you keeping?
Great. Hey, I love your Off the Ground album. It's great. I'm looking forward to the Anaheim concert. I love your music, and I love the way you support Linda. And my question
Keep talking, babe. Keep talking. I love it.
I admire you for that. It's great.
Thank you.
My question is, I wanted to know if your children were interested in performing in the music world, and if not, what are their interests?
Okay, I'll take all of them one by one. My eldest girl is called Heather, and she is interested in pottery. She loves music, but I don't think she'd really do anything in music. She's a potter, like I say. That's her big thing. Then my next girl is called Mary, and she's interested in the music business. She actually works in our office, and she's very good, but she's a good singer and that, but she's probably more on the organizational side of things. That's what she left school and kind of was going to, get an office job. So I said, well, I've got an office job for you, come on here, kid. So she does that. Then my next daughter down is called Stella, and she at the moment is studying fashion in college in London. And I think that's what she wants to do. Now, she's a real good singer, Stella. But, I haven't pushed them. It's one of those things, if they really want to get out and sort of make records or, then it's up to them, and I'll help them if they really show, a big ambition kind of thing. But we recently made a record just for Linda's, but Christmas it was. And Mary and Stella actually made up this little song called... It's called Ingrained Funkiness, actually, which is something I said to her, and she said, I like that title. So we went in the studio and made it. I did a little bit of backing track, and the kids sang on it, and Stella sort of sang a bit there. And then, and that was good. Linda liked that. It was just a little special thing for Christmas. And then there's James, who's my boy, and he's 15, and he's very into the guitar. He's a serious Hendrix fan, like a lot of kids. And he's quite a good little guitar player, actually. And, I'm not going to kind of push him to, get in the music business, because when he was really little, it's funny the way kids say things. It must have been, I don't know, about 9 or something, and he's sort of sitting around the house, and he'd heard one of my songs, and he was singing it, and I said, oh, that's nice. I said, why are you singing that? He said, well, I've got to, Daddy. He said, because when you die, I'll have to sing all the songs.
Wow.
I went, oh, choke. Get out of here, kid. But, this is the way kids think. I thought it was a cool statement, actually. But he's now older, and I don't think he remembers saying that even. But he's got a guitar. He's got a music man, and he's good.
Sounds more like he's born to be an agent. He's got that mentality about him.
Don't. No, let's hope not. But he's a good player, and I said to him the other day, what would you like to be if you could be anything? Because at that age, it's difficult. I was asking one of his school friends, I said, what would you like to be? He said, I don't know, I said, well, I know that one. I remember when I was 15, everybody said, and what do you want to be, little boy? I said, no idea, man.
Yeah.
But I asked James, and he said, I'm a musician, So I don't know. I'm not going to push him, but he's good.
All right.
We'll see how he goes.
Well, you're listening to Rockline on the Global Satellite Network. The telephone number is 1-800-344-ROCK if you'd like to try to call in. Let's go now to Dave from Detroit, Michigan on 101 FM WRIF. Hello, Dave. You're on the air.
How you doing, Paul?
Hi, David.
Hey, I know you've heard this a million times, but this is truly an honor to talk with you on the phone.
Whoa, thanks.
And this is going to kind of set up my question. As I was in London last February, and I went by the Abbey Road Studios there, and I got my picture taken walking across the street there with my shoes off.
Yeah, you and everybody else. Sure, we know that one.
Yeah, because it was February in the traffic, and it was 20 degrees out. I probably caught pneumonia from trying to do it. But I just wanted to know, do you ever get back by the old places like that, and, the Apple Studios, and where are they located at?
Well, the Apple Studios doesn't exist anymore. That was one of those things that when Apple didn't fold, but when we all kind of left the company, kind of when the Beatles broke up, that studio folded. But Abbey Road, I get back there quite a lot actually. I was back there for this album. We did an orchestra with George Martin on the track on this album called "Come On People." And that was great to get back there because it's still a great studio. It's it keeps modern kind of thing. Although they keep the old Beatles studio exactly as it was. I keep saying to the manager of the studio, "So you've got to change it one of these days, man." He said, "No, He said people like it. They come here and they want to record with exactly the same sound as the Beatles had. So he said we don't change it. So that exists, and I get by those places. I still have a fond feeling. I was just over that level crossing you're talking about, the zebra crossing, just recently, in fact. But it was too cold to take my shoes off.
Dave, thank you for the call. Speaking of the old landmarks, we've got a song I think will be precisely what we need. You're listening to Rockline on the Global Satellite Network.
Penny Lane, there is a barber showing photographs of every head he's had the pleasure to know, and all the people that come and go, stop and say hello. On the corner is a banker with a motor car, the little children laughing him behind his back, and the banker never wears a mask in the pouring rain. Very strange. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. There beneath the blue suburban skies, I sit and lean while back in Penny Lane there is a fireman on an hourglass, and in his pocket is a portrait of a queen. He likes to keep his fire engine clean. It's a clean machine. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. For a fish and finger pies in summer, meanwhile back behind the shelter in the middle of the roundabout, the pretty nurse is selling poppies from a tray, and though she feels as if she's in a play, she is anyway. Penny Lane, the barber shaves another customer. We see the banker sitting waiting for a trim, and then the fireman pushes in from the pouring rain. Very strange. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. Beneath the blue suburban skies, I sit and lean while back. Penny Lane is in my ears and in my eyes. Beneath the blue suburban skies, Penny Lane.
You and I are listening to Rockline on the Global Satellite Network, and the telephone number is 1-800-344-ROCK. Our very special guest tonight is Paul McCartney, and we're going to go directly back to the telephones, and this time to Chicago, very famous radio station out there called The Loop, and a lady by the name of Tracy. Hi, Tracy, you're on Rockline.
Hello, Paul.
Hey, Tracy.
Hi, I'm looking forward to seeing you again in Chicago on your tour this summer.
Oh, good. Well,
That'll be
shout
great.
loud and I'll notice you.
Okay, I'll make a sign or something.
Okay.
My question
I'm
was,
Tracy off Rockline. Huh?
I just
Sorry.
recently got your Hope of Deliverance CD single.
Uh-huh.
I love the
Uh-huh.
song Hope of Deliverance. Also, I
Thank
love
you.
Kicked Around No More.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
wondering, on the other CD singles that you plan to release, will you be releasing any more of these non-album B-sides?
Yeah. What we decided was because these days, you know, singles like quite pricey, and people haven't got that much money, you know, generally. So what we thought to do instead of ripping people off is to try and really give good value, like the Beatles used to do. You know, really put a kind of hot B-side on there. And so that's what we decided to do, is to try and include each time we release a single on the CDs. At least 3 tracks that we haven't put out before. So that's going to be the policy.
All right, from...
and I'm glad you like Kicked Around. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Paul.
That's okay, Jimmy.
You took that breath, and I thought that pause meant that we're... Anyway, we're moving on now to New York City, one of my favorite places, and Tom, who is listening on K-Rock. Hi, Tom.
How you doing? Paul, how are you?
Okay, Tom.
How's
Cool.
New York?
It's great.
Isn't
How's
it?
New York with you? Yeah, man.
That's right.
It's happening, as usual.
As usual. Listen, here's what I wanted to ask you. I've been a fan for millions of years, and I have collected what may be the bane of your existence, I don't know, is all of these bootlegs, which you can get in the Village. I don't know if you've been to any of these stores, but I wanted to know what your feelings are on particularly, you know, the Beatles stuff. There's some great stuff, things like That Means a Lot, If You've Got Troubles. You know these songs, right? And
What's my feeling?
What are your feelings about Capitol perhaps putting them out as an official release, a la the Dylan thing, and, you know, Frank Zappa has done his own bootleg version?
Yeah, I don't really mind, you know, if Capitol sort of ring up and say, hey, we'd like to do this, I'd go along with it, you know. Bootlegs is a sort of difficult subject because, you know, in some ways, they're not paying you for what you did, you know, so you're getting ripped off somewhere along the line. So I don't think anyone likes that aspect of it. It's like you going to work and the guy's sort of saying, well, you know, we bootlegged your job this week, we're not paying you. You go, okay, great, thanks, man. You know, that aspect isn't too cool. But it's nice to know that people want these tracks. And I suppose I have a lot of sympathy with fans, because I know if I'd have been offered sort of an Elvis Presley early day bootleg, I'd have snapped it up. You know, I was such a mad fan of his. So it's difficult to know, you know, how I feel exactly. I suppose it's a bit of both. But if Capitol's listening, you know, and wants to put together something like that, as long as it's decent quality, I wouldn't mind.
Thank you very much for the call. Let's do something from the Beatles period. You're listening to Rockline on the Global Satellite Network.
Lady Madonna, children at your feet, wonder how you manage to make ends meet. Who finds the money when you pay the rent? Did you think that money was heaven sent? Friday night arrives without a suitcase. Sunday morning creeping like a nun. Monday's child has learned to tie his bootlegs. See how they run. Lady Madonna, baby at your breast, wonders how you manage to feed the rest. See how they run. Lady Madonna, lying on the bed, listen to the music playing in your head. Tuesday afternoon is never ending. Wednesday morning papers didn't come. Thursday night your stockings needed mending. See how they run. Lady Madonna, children at your feet, wonder how you manage to make ends meet.
Lady Madonna on Rockline. Our very special guest tonight is Paul McCartney, and we will be back to take your phone calls over Rockline in just a moment. But first, if you would like a chance to win one of our 1993 Rockline AT&T calendars signed by all of the guests that appear on the show during the month of February, just send us a postcard with your name, address, and the station you're listening to right now, and mail it to 1993 Rockline Calendar, Post Office Box 4383, Hollywood, California 90078. The 1993 Rockline Calendars are brought to you by AT&T, the right choice. By the way, everyone who is lucky enough to speak with Paul McCartney on the air tonight will also be lucky enough to receive their very own copy of his new album, Off the Ground, courtesy of our friends at Capitol Records. I'm Jim Ladd. You're listening to Rockline. Let's go right back to the telephones. And Henry, calling from Richmond, Virginia, XL 102. Hi, Henry.
Hello. Hi, Paul.
All right, Henry.
Listen, first of all, I want to tell you it's a real thrill to talk to you. Been waiting 26 years to do this, but
me too, man.
Hey, thank you. Anyway, Denise and Bradley and Gene and Jennifer want to say hello, and my question for you is, I remember seeing in a interview that you did where somebody had asked you that for an up-and-coming new band, different ways that they might try to get into the business, I guess, shuffle their tapes off. And I just wondered if maybe you had any intentions yourself of maybe looking at somebody like that and maybe picking them up, taking them under your wing, maybe produce them or something like that. And if so, how can I get my material to you?
I knew that was coming. No, you know, the truth of the matter is now, I used to do a lot of that. But that was when I was a bachelor and didn't have any kids and had a lot of time to myself. I was just living on my own. So basically, you know, every evening was free, really, you know. So I used to fill my time then by producing and you know, looking after bands and stuff. And it was great to do. But kind of after I got married and started to have my kids and that, really, the truth is, you know, if you're going to do your own stuff, there's no time for that. You know, you just need so much time to look after talent because they ring you up at 3 a.m. You can't say, sorry, I'm not in. You know, you've got to be there and you've got to do that. It was okay when I was living on my own. When a lot of other people are involved, you know, so it ended up being really too difficult to do that. So I don't really produce anybody else these days. And I don't really look at any other bands. But, you know, there's plenty of good people out there that do. And if you've got some stuff that sounds good, I mean, I think really you got to do like what everyone else does, which is talk to people at record companies, hang out at record companies, try and get into things like radio, you know, music programs, try and get around those kind of people, because that's where you find your openings. And the other thing is, the other trick is you got to be good. I mean, because you know, that's part of the deal. And what I advise young guys to do is what we did with the Beatles, which is get all our material together. You know, just don't rely on someone to give you a big lump of money and, you know, pay your way to the top. That doesn't work. I think you've got to be good. If you ever get that recording date and someone says, okay, come along to the studio on Friday, you know, you've got a date, you've got to be ready. So what you can be doing is spend your time getting ready. So this is like, you know, get with some mates, rehearse the stuff. And one of the great things when we started with the Beatles is we've been in Hamburg for a year or so. And we knew about 8 hours of music. You know, we could like, so when George Martin said to us, well, you know, what have you got that we might record? He said, what have you got, George? You're kidding. You know, if you've got 8 hours, we'll play you it. So I think that's one of the secrets, is to be ready.
All right, that's and that's a great piece of advice. Don't spend your time working on the politics and who you know. Spend your time learning how to play guitar.
Music.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
All right, we're going to go now to Birmingham and caller by the name of Henry at XL 102. Henry, you're on the air.
This is Larry.
This is Larry.
Yeah, we've done Henry.
I'm sorry. Geez, Paul,
We've done Henry.
Paul, you're following along closer than I am.
There was an awful lot of Henrys on this show.
And you've done your one Henry VIII joke. I'm so sorry.
Exactly.
Okay, Larry, excuse me.
Well, hats off to Larry, I say.
Okay, thanks. I just want to know how come you haven't stopped around lately. And, out of all the tours you've been on, what was your favorite tour?
Wow, that's a good question. That's going to make me think. I don't know. I have to say the first Beatles tour of America. The first sort of big tour that we did. Because it was just so crazy, you know. And when I say we were just a bunch of Liverpool kids hoping for success, and boy, we got it, you know. And if that's what you're looking for and you get it, well, you know, you just can't help but being high 24 hours a day on that kind of a buzz. So I would say, you know, the early American tours that we did were something very special, because we were not only just seeing America and our fans, but we were this phenomenon that no one had ever seen before, and we were doing great, and we were having a lot of fun playing the music. So I'd have to plump for them.
Paul, let me bring us back to today here for a moment, if I could, in this wonderful song called Biker Like an Icon. I love this tune. Two things I want to ask you. One is, what gave you the idea to write a song about obsessive love? And could you possibly expand on the line, slowly watching precious water drip away? What does that mean?
Yeah, okay. Well, you know, I mean, I don't like to get too much of an explanation about songs, because I like people to make their own meanings for things. But how that song came about was... we were just at home, me and Linda, and we were just sort of chatting and stuff, and she'd got a new camera, one of those German cameras, which was a Leica, little swish little thing, and she said, "Oh, this is great." She said, "I like Leica," and I went, "Leica? What's this, Leica?" And I started to play with that phrase in my own mind, and later that evening, I was kind of lying in bed, and I just thought, oh, you know, Leica. What about a Nikon? I like a Nikon, and that Nikon started to become icon. So then I got this Biker Like an Icon, just like as a title. And I thought, oh, you know, maybe that could be a good story. So it was really all came about because of the title, just the kind of the sound of the title. And I'm very keen on titles that make people go, what? You know, because if you just have a kind of ordinary title, you say, you know, hey baby, you're great. And people go, oh, that's nice, you know. But if you've got something odd, people say, what's that? Say it again. And you're already involved in a little conversation about it. So it came about because of the title. And there was really no other way to go. With a title like Biker Like an Icon, I figured it had to be somebody who loved the biker like an icon. So that, and then I made that into like a runaway who kind of was so obsessive about this guy. And the thing I like about the song is... besides just it was fun to record, is in the middle of it is sort of when she actually meets the biker. Yeah. He says when he met her, he couldn't let her get away. And you don't know whether that was something she agreed with or not.
Yeah, you don't know if it's ominous or romantic.
Yeah, you know, which I like to leave that, you know, undecided. I mean, it's only a song, it's only a poem, so there's no reality there, so it's okay to leave it undecided. And the slowly watching precious water drip away was just to do with the fact that she's obsessive, you know, and she kind of maybe knows doesn't stand much of a chance of ever meeting him. So it's just like her life dripping away, you know, each moment like a little tap dripping, and this is, you know, while she's being obsessive, there's her real life slipping by.
Yeah. All right, let's listen to this, and those out there can make up their own storyline. This is Biker Like an Icon on Rockline.
There was a girl who loved a biker. She used to follow him across America, but the biker didn't like her. Persisted, but my brother said she was twisted, and the family said they wouldn't miss her anyway. She loved the biker like an icon, gazing at his picture every day. She loved the biker like an icon, slowly watching precious water drip
is that song in the groove? It is in the exact center of the groove. I love that too. Lord have mercy. Biker like an icon, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, let me give you some tour dates here where this gentleman is going to be playing. Paul McCartney will be playing April 14th. That is the kickoff of the North American tour at the Silver Bowl in Las Vegas, Nevada. April 17th, Anaheim Stadium, right here in the beautiful and luscious city of Los Angeles. April 20th, it is Aggie Memorial in Las Cruces, New Mexico. The Astrodome on April 22nd in Houston, Texas. Let's go back to the telephones. Paul, we've got a gentleman by the name of Jim in Emporia, Kansas on Fox 105 in Topeka. Hello, Jim.
Hi. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Jim.
It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, good name, that, James.
Yes, it is. James Paul, too, huh?
Yeah, I got it.
I was wondering, you've got Blair Cunningham now playing drums, and he's real good, and I really like him, and I was wondering what happened to Chris Whitten?
What happened was after the last tour, we weren't going to do anything for a while, and so we kind of talked to Chris about what he wanted to do, and I think he wanted to kind of keep going on the road. You know, he's a young guy. He wanted to keep earning money. It's not unheard of. And so he got an offer to tour with Dire Straits. Mark Knopfler asked him if he wanted to do that. And so I said, well, I'm not going to stand in your way. You know, that's fine. You know, we're not doing anything really for a couple of years or whatever. I had other things on, you know. And I knew we were going to make an album at some point. So he wanted to get out and earn big money. And so that's what he did, and that's what happened to him.
Well, all right. That is an honest answer. Let's go now to Patrick in Union City, New Jersey. He's at 92.3 K-Rock in New York.
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Hey, Pat.
Welcome to New York.
Thanks.
I'd like to ask you how you met Elvis Costello and the process of your respective collaborations together.
Okay. We originally met, I think, in a recording studio. I think it was Air London in London. George Martin's studio there. And it's a nice studio because there's about 4 studios, so there's always other acts in there. It's a very busy studio, so you kind of go up to play a game of pool or, you know, have a tea or something. And there's always people around, you know, so you see all the acts there. Over the years, you kind of see millions of people. And, of course, you get friendly with them, you know, when you've got some time off. And that was, I think, how I met Elvis. That was my first sort of recollection of meeting him. He seemed like a nice bloke. What happened was, before Off the Ground, his manager and my manager had kind of got together and had said, you know, it might be a good idea if Elvis and Paul got together, tried to see if they wanted to write together. And he was up for it, and I was too. So we kind of sat down just to see if we'd hate writing together, and didn't tell anyone we were going to try and do it. But it worked out great. You know, he's a real nice guy. And we sat down and I patched up one of his songs, which was Veronica. And then he patched up one of mine, which is a B-side called Back on My Feet. And after a little while, we thought, okay, come on, we better stop patching and try and write something really. It looks like we're going to be able to do this together. So the very first thing we did is on this new album, Off the Ground, and the song is The Lovers That Never Were. That was actually the first song Elvis and I wrote together. But we couldn't make a record of it. We made a great demo of it, crazy demo, which is still, you know, got to be released one of these days. A good one there. But we couldn't make the actual record. And it was only till we got round to trying it on this record that we finally pulled it off.
All right, Patrick, I want to thank you for the call and, of course, for using up one of my best questions. That's really cool. Time now to give you details on our latest Rockline Right In to Win contest. It's sponsored by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. The grand prize winner will receive airfare for 2 to Los Angeles, plus 3 nights accommodations and tickets to Universal Studios. And I'm sorry, Paul, you can't enter because you are a guest on Rockline. In addition, you'll be, well, it's...
telepathic. I was going to ask you, can I?
I know. You were bugging me about it on the break, but I got to tell you again, I'm sorry. It's Howard Gilman's fault. Anyway, in addition, you'll be the guest of honor at a party held here in our Hollywood studios during a future Rockline show. Second prize is a Gibson guitar. Third prize, a pair of Advent 2 speakers, and 25 runners-up will receive Reese's Peanut Butter Cups gift packs. To enter, just send us a postcard with your name, address, and the station you're listening to right now. Plus, tell us how you eat Reese's Peanut Butter Cups and mail it to There's No Wrong Way to Eat a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, Post Office Box 4383, Hollywood, California 90078. The deadline to enter is February 21st, and the winners will be announced during our March 15th show. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Remember, there is no wrong way to eat a Reese's. We'll be back with more Paul McCartney on Rockline right after this. You're listening to Rockline on the Global Satellite Network. Our very special guest tonight is Paul McCartney, and we're going directly back to the telephones. And Jay from a town called Boston Spa at PYX 106 in Albany, New York. Jay, you're on the air.
Hi, Paul.
Hey, Jay.
I can't believe I'm actually speaking to you. This is the
Believe
most
it,
exciting
baby.
thing that's happened to me since I spoke to Ringo on Rockline about 4 years ago.
Ooh.
And Jay, your
Your
question
All
is...
you need is George now.
That's it.
Remember that old song, All You Need is George?
Yep, I know it well.
Yeah.
I actually have a two-part question. It's about one of your new songs, Big Boys
Yeah.
Bickering.
Huh?
Excellent song, by the way.
Oh, cool, thanks.
Did you leave the objectionable language in the song on purpose in order to get the song noticed more and to get your point across? And how do you feel about it being banned on most of the radio stations and MTV, etc.?
Yeah, the first bit was, I did leave it in because, as you say, like it's a protest song. I mean, I considered maybe toning it down. There's a couple of other words I could have used, but that word tumbled out, you know. And I thought, well, you know, I mean, I'm an artist. It's not as if I kind of, I'm like not allowed to do this kind of thing. So I kept it in, just to make the point that if anyone is going to listen to it, they go, oh, dear, why did you say that? I said, well, I'll tell you why, because I want that ozone hole closed, or I want this, that, and the other, you know. And then it leads into a conversation about the real issues, whether I'm swearing or not. What was the other bit of the question?
Well, the second part was how do you feel about MTV and some of the radio stations banning?
You know, I of course I kind of expected it really, because you know there's like rules on these things where you're not allowed to swear and stuff. I'm not too freaked by it really, because the one thing it has done by banning it, that anybody bans anything, it makes people say, oh wait a minute, I better listen to this if they're going to ban it. This is, and I think it actually brings more attention to it. I understand, you know, if the charter says they're not allowed to use words like that. However, I think most of us know that these are words you can hear pretty much any day.
All right. Thank you very much, Jay. Let's go now to Sue in Albuquerque at 94 Rock.
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Hi, Sue.
Hi. I'd like to thank you for all the great music and many memories you've given us.
Thank you, darling.
My question is, what single event and or person has most influenced your music and your life?
Oh, that's too difficult. I won't be able to get a single person, but I'll give you three. How's that? My dad, who was a musician, not a professional, he was a great guy, and he, I suppose, turned me on to music, and you know, I got his genes in me, so I got to thank him a lot because he was very musical and self-taught. Then I would have to say John Lennon, because of course he was like a huge influence on me. You know, Howard sitting here saying, was it me? No, it wasn't, Howard. It wasn't you, man. Much as I love you.
You know, he asked if he was an influence on everybody that's on this show.
And so I'd have to say John Lennon, and then I would have to say Linda, because, you know, more recently she's been a big influence on me, and so I'll choose just those three people.
That's
for different reasons.
That's a very nice answer. Your father, John Lennon, and your wife. That's I like that. I like that. But no, Howard, no. Let's now go to Steve in Lawrence, Kansas. He's listening to us on KC 95 in St. Louis. Steve, you're on the air.
Hi, Paul. How you doing?
Okay, Steve.
First thing before I get to my question, I'd like you to say hi to a friend in Cumberland, Maine. Her name's Elizabeth. Do that real quick.
Okay. Hey, Elizabeth in Cumberland, Maine. Hi, baby.
Thank you very much. My question's
She paying you money for this or what?
my question's off your new album.
Yeah.
Where did you get the inspiration for the song "Looking for Changes"?
I'll tell you what, I saw a photo in one of these animal rights magazines. Actually, I think it was called Animals Agenda. And there was a picture there with a cat, and it had like the top of its head taken off or like opened up or something. And the scientists had put a little machine in there. And the look on the cat's face was like saying, get this thing out of my head, man. You know, anybody out there looking, do something. And so I just kind of had to respond. You know, I just feel strongly about that kind of thing. You know, you imagine the luck of that cat. You know, they say, you know, some people are lucky. Well, that cat wasn't. He just got bad luck one day, and they just opened up this poor sucker's brain and stuck this little machine in, you know. So I feel strongly about that. So that was it. I ended up writing a song about it called Looking for Changes.
You know, you seem to be, and maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but you seem to be saying there's something wrong with the indiscriminate torture and mutilation of animals, even for the scientific purpose of a brand of eyeshadow that doesn't smear as much. Now, certainly for something that important, Paul.
Well, you know, you put your finger on it. You know, it's like, that's what I'm saying. You know, if it's a life-threatening disease and people feel they've got to experiment on animals, I'm not too keen on that. But, you know, if it was one of my kids was going to be saved by that, I think in that case, you know, I would... listen, you know, and be very sad for the animal, but I would choose my kid over an animal. That's me. But when it's things like cosmetics and teaching monkeys to smoke and stuff like that, I mean, we don't need to know that. We all know smoking causes cancer. I mean, you know, big deal.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you have taken a very, very difficult subject to even talk about and written a great song, and let's listen to it now. It's called Looking for Changes. Listening to Rockline on the Global Satellite Network. Paul, I understand that a couple of friends of yours have just joined you. Is that correct?
Yeah, Hamish and Robbie out of the band have just... Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Vegas.
You just flew in, babe.
Well, all right. You guys make yourself comfortable because we've got to pay some bills, and we will be right back with Rockline on the Global Satellite Network. Jim Ladd, and you and I are listening to Rockline on the Global Satellite Network. And I've always wanted to say this. We're going a little bit longer, so this is attention to all of our Rockline affiliates. Paul McCartney has been kind enough to say he would stay here a little bit longer than we thought, so eat your heart out, Ted Koppel. And we're going to stay up on the satellite a little bit more. Paul, are you with us?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the telephones. We got Harold from Canton, Ohio on 100.7 The Buzzard. Harold?
Hi, Paul. Hi, Hamish and Robbie, too.
Hi. Hi, Harry.
Give us your question.
I wanted to ask a question. I read a clipping in a newspaper saying that when you go out on the road this time, that you were going to bypass all the cities that you had played stadiums in before. And I also wanted to ask about the Beatle documentary. I saw a news clipping off CNN News that stated where you made a statement about getting together with George and Ringo to do a song for it.
Mm-hmm. The thing about bypassing all the places we played, really what it was, last time we came on tour, obviously like a lot of cities, like places like San Diego and places sort of said, why didn't you come? And, I think like some of the places got together petitions and everything. So we tried this time to go to places that we didn't go to last time, except for, certain exceptions. I think we are definitely getting to New York and L.A. and a few other places. But we've tried to kind of go and see those fans that we didn't see last time. And then about the Beatles, what it was they're doing a 10-part documentary series on the Beatles. And we were asked if we'd fancy doing a piece of music. This is me, George, and Ringo. We're asked if we'd fancy doing a piece of music, maybe like a little piece of incidental music or something that would be included in the documentary. And even though we normally said, we don't want to work together again, over the years, because you couldn't really, get the Beatles back together. For this one piece of music, we said, yeah, sure. And surprisingly, really, all of us agreed to do it. So that's really the strength of that. We may be getting back together to make a piece of music. It'll be fun seeing the guys again and getting in the studio,
Let me give a couple more of the concert dates here since we were speaking of that. April 27th, the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee. April 29th, Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. May 1st, the venue in Atlanta, Georgia, and on and on and on. This is the New World Tour. Let's go back to the telephones now. And Tony, who is in Queens, New York, at 92.3 K-Rock in New York. Hi, Tony. How are you?
Hi, Paul.
Hey, Tony.
Hi, how you doing?
Okay.
Great. My question is, apart from your family, what is your most prized possession?
Ooh. I mean, that's a hard one, again. I'll tell you, I don't know what is my most prized possession. I'll tell you a couple. My Hofner bass is cool. That's great. And Linda, a while ago, bought me for my birthday the original Elvis Presley bass that Bill Black used to play, the stand-up bass. That's actually the bass that played on Heartbreak Hotel, and you can see it in the back of all the Elvis movies. So that and my Hofner bass, I'd choose as two of my most prized possessions anyway.
It's a very interesting answer. Let's hear something from the White Album.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, you're certainly welcome, Paul. This is Rockline on the Global Satellite Network.
Singing in the dead of night. Take these sunken eyes and learn to see all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird flying.
Great version of Blackbird from Unplugged, and I know they didn't think I could hear them, but they were making fun of my name again back in New York. Boy, I hate it when the English do that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there we go. Jesus.
Come aboard.
Yeah.
This film be rated R.
Paul, do you know Roger Waters? Do you know
Yeah.
Roger Waters?
Yeah.
He gives me endless grief about my name. Endless grief. So I've heard all of these lame English jokes. Anyway, thank you for that, Hamish and Robbie. We're back with Paul McCartney.
Speaking of lame English jokes. Lame English?
Is he related?
Hamish
Any
is
relation
getting
to
lame.
Alan Ladd?
Oh my
Yeah.
God! Here
Is
we
it-
go. Here we go. You know what I'm saying? You guys got to get limp. You guys got to get into the '90s. You're still, living in those World War II Blitz movies. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, let's go to Pat at WKGB. Am I losing control here? FM in. I think
so.
Thinking him. Yes, you're on the air, Pat.
Ready.
Hey, Paul.
Hi, Pat.
How are you doing? It's great
Okay.
I love the Beatles.
Cheers. Great. Thanks, man. So do
Paul,
I.
I know that you sang with your wife on some of your albums. What other female singers would you like to get together with?
I don't know, really. People have asked me this before. I've always said that it'd be nice to sing with Gladys Knight. I don't know if it would be, actually. But that's what I always answer to that question. It might be a disaster, It might be, hello, Gladys. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. But I like her voice, and the truth is, I've done a few duets and stuff, and I don't know if I'm really into that at the moment. I'm quite happy with the band as it is, But there's my answer for the time being.
And we thank you for it. Mario from Hillsdale at 92.3 K-Rock in New York again. Mario, you're on the air.
Paul, this is Mario. I'm thrilled to be talking to you. I hope
Hi,
someday
Mario.
I can meet you face to face in a professional capacity. This is a question about your songwriting. This new album seems to have the same spirit as maybe some of your older tunes, material such as Getting Closer or Smile Away, Won't Bury Moon Delight, Every Night, just to name a few. What is inspiring you these days as a songwriter?
It's the same thing that always inspired me. I still think it's kind of magic to pick up a guitar or sit down at a piano or pick up a piano and sit down at a guitar. No. I still think it's magic just to sit down there and start plonking a thing, and if you're lucky, a song comes out, So it's really just that magic that inspires me, the fact that I can do it, It always surprises me. And I don't really have to have something in mind when I start off to do that. Sometimes I have like a title or something or some issue that's got me going. But more often than not, it's just the fact that the sheer pleasure of being able to do it is such a thrill that, it makes me do it time and time again.
Time and time again. All right. Janet in Springfield, who is listening on 106 WHCN in Hartford. Hello, Janet. You're on the air with Paul McCartney.
Hello, Paul.
Hi, Janet.
It's great to be talking to you.
Thank you, darling.
What I wanted to ask you about was I had read before this album came out that hi Robbie and Hamish, by the way, that Hamish was working on a song and you had given him some advice to make it a love song and that it was possibly going to come up on this album, which sounds like more of a group effort. Was this more of a group effort, and whatever happened to that song?
Yeah, well, this album is very much a group effort. It's like a band album. And the story I think you're talking about was that Hamish rang me in London, and he was in L.A., he lives in L.A., and he rang me, and what did you say, Hamish? We were talking about songwriting, right?
Yeah, it was. We had a groove that we'd sort of been messing around with, and I was trying to get some kind of lyric idea kicked off, and
I was saying, how's it going? I was
Yeah.
saying, how's it going? And you said, it's fine. And he said, but I just can't having trouble with the words. I can't think of it. And I said, well, how about love? I said, there's a good start. And he said, well, yeah, I keep coming back to love. I said, well, then go on, there's your title. So on the transatlantic phone from L.A. to a car phone, he then got off the phone and started writing this. And then we got together. And I think it is coming up as an extra track on one of the singles that's coming off this album. So you will hear it, and it's called Keep Coming Back to Love.
Lord have mercy. Let me ask you very quickly. We're going to go to a Beatles song here, but I want to ask you very quickly, if you can give me a short answer on You and your wife, Linda, have been very active in protecting the environment and in the ecology movement. Do you think that, and this is something that, as you said earlier, started in the 60s, really, when we were called tree huggers and environmental terrorists and stuff. Do you think that we've finally come to the place where the majority of people in the Western world understand that we've got to do something now?
I hope so. That's my short answer. Yeah, I think we have, and I certainly hope that is true, and I think people want action now.
Okay, good. And listen, I just want to encourage you and your lovely wife to keep prodding us on to do more. Let's listen to Magical Mystery Tour now from the Beatles on Rockline. Magical Mystery Tour, title cut from that particular Beatles album, has a lot of great songs on it. And we should mention again the New World Tour, which is kicking off the North American leg April 14th at the Silver Bowl in Las Vegas. Very quickly, Hamish and Robbie, is this guy a good guy to work for? Is he a real slave driver on tour? Does he make you carry his bags? What's the deal?
No, we make him carry our bags.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad you... So he's still got a certain amount of humility left.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. How is it at this particular stage of the game, Paul, that you love performing so much still? Is there any rhyme or reason to that, or it's just still fun?
Well, you know, I was kind of expecting at some point to get fed up with it, but I never did.
Good. Well, we're glad.
That's all there is to it, man. You know, I enjoy it. And the thing now is that this is a good band. It's a real pleasure to sit down. I mean, just to jam with this band is a good pleasure, you know. So I think we all enjoy it, and that's the secret.
Now, there is you've been someone who has loved the band situation forever. Explain the difference between that and you know, just here I am out here by myself, everything.
Well, you know, it's to do with teamwork. You know, anyone who's ever played on a team in a sport or anything, there's this thing, you know, you got a couple of other people to help you out, and you get this chemistry going between you. You make certain kind of move, and somebody amplifies it and makes another kind of move, and you start throwing all this stuff around. It can be quite exciting, actually, you know, when you get that. And that's what we got now. So we thought, well, we better get out on the road with it. And that's what we're doing. We're out and we're coming your way.
Well, that is kind of a metaphor for what hopefully we've learned in the 60s and now the 90s. And Very quickly, I want to just ask you this. Are you going around now that that the baby boomers, like you and myself and the people, and the folks coming up in high school now seem to be very simpatico, and that there is a lot of optimism about their youthful energy and optimism and some of the things that perhaps we learned. What do you think about that?
That's right, man. I think, in the 60s, like, a certain kind of thing happened, but there was a lot of excess in the drugs and stuff. A lot of people OD'd and stuff. So people then looking at it in the 70s and the 80s were kind of saying, okay, well, we can't do that. We'll have to do something else. But I don't really think they found anything else. They just found sort of yuppieism and money and all that sort of stuff. So the kids in the 90s now are fed up with all that sort of Reagan and Bush stuff, and they're kind of looking for something new. And I think they're referring back to, like, some of the ideas from the 60s and say, let's pick those ideas up and run with them,
My man, that answer just made my year. Thank you very much. And I also want to thank everyone for listening and for calling tonight, and make sure that you're with us this Monday for an evening with Leonard Skinner and Dan Baird. And coming up in the next few weeks, Brian May, the Archangels, Jethro Tull, and Paul Rogers. Very special thanks tonight to Rich Bloom and Larry Jenkins of Capitol Records, Joe Dara of Darren Associates, Richard Ogden from MPL, Barbara Moriarty of ABC Radio in New York, Dave Weiderman of the Guitar Center, Michael Johnson of SIR, and finally, and most importantly, to our guest, Paul McCartney. Paul, thank you so much.
Okay, Jim, it's been a pleasure, and thanks to the callers.
Amen. Thank you for hanging in with us. I'm Jim Ladd. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Rockline. You have been listening to Rockline, brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Remember, there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's. And by AT&T, the right choice. Rockline is engineered by Jimmy Height, Chris Lindsley, Jimmy Rash, and John Valenzuela. Our engineers in New York are Rick Kelman and Bill Abrams. Technical direction is by Mike Correa. Talent acquisition by Richard Kimball. Thanks to Jim Jacob and Greg Jernigan, and to Kevin Stevens for their special help. Our associate producer is Stephanie Fondler. Rockline is produced by Jim Villanueva. Executive producer, Howard Gilman. I'm Jim Ladd. Rockline is an exclusive presentation of the Global Satellite Network.